Today is Monday, October 28th, and this is the ADM Investor Services Market Kickoff. Please note that the views and opinions expressed here today are solely those of our guests and should not be construed as the views or opinions of ADM Investor Services or Archer Daniels Midland Company. Today's guests are Steve Freed, Vice President of Grain Research at ADM Investor Services, and Alan Bush, ADMIS Senior Financial Economist. Steve, let's start with the grain markets this morning. Corn, soybeans, and wheat have pulled back from recent highs. Why, and do you believe that futures may make new highs?
I think the market kind of ran out of gas. As we always say, you have to feed a bull market twice a day and a bear market once a month. And so I think export pace remains slow. And I think that we haven't really got any specific news on the trade deal with China. So I think the market's kind of pulling back. And I think they're also anticipating some cash movement as the harvest advances. I really think that the crop is smaller, and I think that we'll make new highs once the harvest is over.
Steve, what is the latest on U.S. and South American weather and any impact that might have on prices?
We're a little wet here in the United States. We had some heavy rains in Illinois, Indiana over the weekend. We got snow this weekend and part of the western Midwest. So I think it's going to slow harvest. And again, it makes the supply bulls feel that the crop eventually will be smaller because of this weather. Down in South America, we're getting some rains in Brazil, which is needed. So the only area that's dry is southern Argentina. And so I think down basically in South America, the weather is good and offers resistance to prices.
China, Steve, what is the latest on the U.S. and China trade deal as it applies to the agricultural sector?
Well, Friday, I guess there were some really good phone calls back and forth, and there was some optimism that eventually we will get a partial deal. There was even talk that they agreed to allow China cooked poultry to come to the United States. In return, U.S. would ship fresh poultry to China. So we'll be watching this week to see if there's any red meat sales. I think they need red meat in China because of the African swine fever, and then we'll also be watching to see if anything pops up in the bean market. I think the corn market's having a little trouble rallying because I don't think corn right now is included in phase one. And so I think from an agricultural standpoint, it offers hope.
Finally, Steve, when is the next key USDA report?
November 8th. And I think that given the fact that the trade is short corn and now long beans and wheat, we might see a little bit evening up in front of that report, go sideways into the report. I think the supply bulls hope the USDA drops the crop. If they don't, we could continue this trade. But if they don't do anything in November 8th, it's all the way until January until we actually get some hard data about this crop. So I think the supply bulls are hoping for a bullish report November 8th.
Turning toward the financial markets, Alan, what is your outlook for the U.S. economy?
Well, actually, things have changed a little bit. It appears that the U.S. economy is holding up better than many analysts are expecting. And in fact, the global economy seems to be in a similar situation, although it still seems that the U.S. economy will outperform elsewhere in the world. Now we've got GDP coming out on Wednesday. The median guess is for up 1.7%. I would not be surprised to see maybe something a little better, maybe closer to 1.8%.
What about the interest rates, Alan? Anything of note to speak of with interest rates?
And the interest rates, well, we've got two upsetting factors now. Apparently less need for flight to quality buying. As Steve mentioned, the apparent progress in the U.S.-China trade situation. But that being offset by the still accommodated Fed. So it still appears that the interest rate futures markets will advance longer term, but the ascent may be a bit more gradual.
Finally, Alan, what is the outlook for copper and the other industrial metals in light of a better tone to the U.S.-China trade situation?
This all seems to fit together, and the industrial metals have performed rather well as of late, even copper now moving up to 268. Of course, there have been some supply disruption issues in Chile. Also the U.S.-China trade situation with a better tone, all of these contributing to recent gains in copper. I would not be surprised to see a move up to 275.
Thank you both. Remember, the views and opinions expressed today on this video are solely those of our guests and should not be construed as the views or opinions of ADM Investor Services or Archer Daniels Midland Company. If you'd like more information about our broker services, like to speak to one of our experts about managing your risks or would like to open a trading account, please visit www.admis.com.